It begins in a room too bright for the hour. Fluorescent light glances off glass. Voices skid along the table's edge. Everyone talks at once, thunder ricocheting down a narrow valley. Deadlines, budgets, bruised egos, the usual sharp furniture. At the head of the table sits a man they expect to flare. He doesn't. He folds his hands not like a fortress, more like a harbor at low tide, and lets the rush break against quiet. The first minute feels reckless. The second feels deliberate. By the third, the noise begins to sort itself. That was the first hint. When he finally speaks, it is only to ask a question whose answer does not need him. Chairs ease back a fraction, pens slow. The temperature falls 2 degrees. You can feel the room checking itself, like a runner who suddenly meets a mirror and adjusts posture. Nobody is punished. Nobody is rescued. He does less and the meeting moves more. Respect often begins where neediness ends. I know that sounds like a contradiction in a world trained to reward hustle, sweetness, and sprinting explanations. Yet watch what happens when a leader's attention is steady, but not sticky, present but not pulling. People straighten. Ideas stand on their own feet. The volume drops and nuance comes forward. The signal lifts out of the static. There is a name for this posture. Strategic detachment, not coldness, not apathy. Coldness is armor. Apathy is exit. Strategic detachment is warmth with a boundary, care that does not clutch. It says, I am here with you, and I do not need to steer your every movement. It trusts competence into existence by leaving space for it to appear. With it, authority stops panting and starts breathing. Come in if you like. The city is sleeping around us. Street lights cast small halos on empty sidewalks, and the hour forgives long pauses. We can look at this together, slowly, without urgency. I will offer a Roman lens, Marcus sitting beside us with his small notebook, reminding us that what is essential rarely needs to shout. We will hold modern stakes in the other hand, teams, families, careers, the thin blue flame of attention that runs through them all, because there is a moment I have not told you about. It came after the questions and the quiet and the softened shoulders. The agenda still bulged with unsolved knots. The man at the head of the table still had the authority to push, press, insist. He did not. He adjusted nothing but his breathing. He let the room keep its own weather. And then it happened. A subtle tilt, an almost physical turning, as if gravity had been relocated by an inch. Not charisma, not fear, just the relief of room to stand. Unpressed people grew more awake, as if air returned there, the moment the room turned toward him without him moving. You will want to know how that works and why it lasts. We will get there. Bring your questions. Leave your hurry outside. For tonight, let the mystery breathe once more and follow its trail into what comes next. Detachment is not leaving the room. It is opening a window inside it. Disengagement shuts the door and turns off the light. Detachment keeps the lamp on, clears the air and sits back far enough to see the whole table. One is absence. The other is presence with space. One abandons outcomes. The other releases the need to force them. When you feel that difference in your body, you stop mistaking quiet for indifference and composure for control. Control clenches. It narrows the field until only one path remains, and then it drags. Composure expands. It watches the choices wander in, lets the anxious ones settle, and selects with clean hands. Control makes people smaller around you. Composure lets them arrive at their full height. The look on a team's face tells you which one is operating. Tight shoulders and darting eyes, or the steady calm that allows ideas to breathe. Think of a friend you admire. Not the loudest one, not the most available. The one who texts less, replies when they mean it, and somehow ends up more respected. They are never punishing you with silence. They are honoring both of you with attention that hasn't been sliced into confetti. When they answer, it lands. When they decline, you feel steadier, not scolded. Their value isn't measured by speed but by substance. They are proof that presence without grasping is magnetic. Detachment grows in what I call the inner room. It's the place no one else has keys to, the quiet square of floor between stimulus and response. People can knock. Events can rattle the windows. Deadlines can drum at the door. Inside you breathe, look around and decide which door to open. You choose the tone before the words. You choose the boundary before the yes. You choose the pace before the plan. The inner room does not isolate you from life. It shelters the part of you that chooses how to meet it. Sovereignty lives here. Not the crown and scepter kind, but the gentler sovereignty over attention and tempo. You decide where your mind stands and how fast your actions move. Some moments require a long exhale and a single sentence. Some call for a brisk step and a clear directive. Detachment lets you match the world without letting the world set your pulse. It is consent about pace. It is consent about focus. It is a quiet vote for what truly matters. If you practice this even a little, people notice. Meetings breathe. Texts stop feeling like alarms. Your days regain edges and weather. You will misread it sometimes and overcorrect. That's fine. Return to the inner room and begin again. In that space, even disagreement becomes less like collision and more like two rivers meeting, each keeping its color until they mix by choice. Practice makes the contours familiar. There's a Roman sentence that unlocks this. Later, he is alone when the city sleeps. The palace breathes with its own old lungs. Braziers glow. The floor remembers 1,000 footsteps that are not here now. Somewhere in the dark, soldiers keep their watch. Petitions wait like unopened weather, and the empire leans its full weight against one man's spine. He writes anyway. Not for history, not for applause. For the small room inside his chest where decisions start. The wax tablets take his hand like a friend. Marcus was not spared the mess of living. Plague, campaigns, betrayals. The arithmetic of scarce grain and unending need. A sun to raise, a world to steady, a mind to keep from wandering into fear. He could command armies, but not the weather of tomorrow. So he practiced ruling the one province he could own, his attention. You can feel it in those lines that sound like someone sweeping a floor at dusk. Here is the distilled maxim he kept returning to, and that I offer you now. Attention is possession of the self. Whatever holds your gaze holds the reins. When he writes, you have power over your mind, not outside events. He is restringing the instrument so it plays under his hands, not under the crowds. Attention is the gate and the gatekeeper. When it opens to every urgency, you are evicted from your own house. When it holds its shape, you live where you stand. Watch how he steps back inside before stepping forward in public. A letter arrives. A governor has mishandled grain. The winter could bite. In the outer room, advisors press for blame, for spectacle, for speed. Marcus listens, then retreats, not to distance himself from suffering, but to touch the ground of judgment. He scans his own impulses for smoke. Is it anger speaking, vanity? The wish to be praised as decisive? He sets each impulse on the windowsill and lets the night air cool it. Only then does he step into decision. With a mind rinsed of theater, I imagine one counsel in particular. Reports clash. The room clatters with consequence. Someone urges punishment to make an example. Marcus lifts a hand, not to silence, but to buy a moment of clear air. In that pause, three things reassemble: facts, values, and time. Facts without hurry, values without applause, time without panic. His reply is short. He orders grain moved, audits begun, and mercy kept in reserve until the truth is mapped. The pause did not delay action. It prevented reaction from dressing up as leadership. This is what strategic detachment looked like in a crown. the inner room revisited before the outer room is addressed. He was not remote. He was rooted. Because he held possession of his attention, he could loan it to problems without losing it to them. The gesture was simple enough to teach, but he would not hurry. There is a particular move, 3 breaths long, that makes the inner step back as tangible as a hand on a railing. We'll walk through it soon when the night grows one shade deeper. For now, keep the room lit and quiet. Respect often behaves like physics long before it looks like psychology. Picture 2 magnets in your hands. Push them together too quickly and they buck. A small shiver of refusal running through your palms. Hold them a measured distance apart, steady, parallel, and a quiet force emerges. They begin to align without your fingers insisting. People are not magnets, but attention has poles, and composure sets them right. Chasing bends that field. The more you tug at someone's approval, the weaker your pull becomes. Need broadcasts noise. Urgency scrambles orientation. Composure, by contrast, is like setting a level surface in a room full of wobble. When you stand still, you give the other person a frame to steady against. They choose their angle, not because you demanded it, but because your steadiness made choosing easier. You're not aloof. You're protecting signal from noise. Think of every ping, prompt, and glance as static that wants to colonize your day. If you let it, it will blur the message until only the loudest remains. Detachment filters, not to mute care, but to make it audible. When your presence is clean, even simple sentences gain weight. Pauses become part of the grammar. Most of us think we're short on time. The calendar groans, the inbox heaves, the hourglass tilts. But notice how an hour full of scattered attention feels thinner than 10 minutes of undivided presence. Scarcity isn't mostly minutes. It's the rare commodity of a mind that shows up whole. Respect gathers around that rarity the way leaves gather in the lee of a wall. Here's a model you can feel. Imagine a cup of water carried across a crowded room. If you fixate on speed, you'll slosh. If you fixate on every passerby, you'll freeze. If you hold your center and keep the rim a finger below full, you arrive with water to spare. Others will make way, not because you asked, but because your steadiness advertised care. Another model, conversation as orbit. Speak with a frantic need to convince, and you burn fuel spiraling closer until both parties overheat. Speak with calm mass, grounded facts, measured tone, and the other person's attention falls into a natural path around the topic. You are not dragging. You are offering gravity. In that field, disagreements can circulate without crashing. Respect is not earned by volume. It is lent to posture and repaid in trust. You can feel it in your body when someone stands with you, but not on you. The room gets taller. Options multiply. Jokes land better. Pressure breathes. All this can sound nice on paper and slippery in practice, so we will make it tangible. We'll take the magnets and the orbit and translate them into how you sit, where your eyes rest, and the pace of your next reply. We'll test this in a conversation soon together with a real script and stakes. The meeting was scheduled for an hour and had already slid past 12 minutes, that soft slope where goodwill starts to fray. Slides kept multiplying, questions braided into side stories, and the clock looked away to avoid the guilt. You could feel the room doing math. Who will be brave enough to end this kindly? The project lead glanced at the door, then at the team, then set her notebook down with a quiet finality that made space for a different weather. She didn't scold or rush. She smiled the way you do when a train is coming and you still need to zip the bag. "I'm going to call time so we protect everyone's day," she said, warm as a lamp. "Let's capture the open threads and I'll follow up with owners after this." The shoulders in the room dropped as if someone set down a box they'd forgotten they were carrying. The tone reset. The air regained edges. Clarity is kindness in advance. It tells people where the walls are before anyone bumps a knee. When you mark the edges, care can move freely inside. Without edges, care sloshes. People over-explain, overshare, overstay, and end up tired in ways that turn generous minds brittle. Boundaries are not gates with spikes. They're garden borders that let things grow. When detachment becomes boundary, it looks like this. Your presence remains open, your time does not. You are reachable, not available by default. You care deeply, and you keep your grip light. The paradox resolves when you realize that attention is a precious ingredient. Overexposure dilutes its flavor, while measured offerings let it taste like itself. Scarcity is not a trick. It is the candor of limits that helps your voice arrive undistorted. There's a simple protocol that makes this humane. First, defer. Acknowledge the value without taking it on right now. Then name what will happen, where and by when. Finally, deliver. Keep the promise clean. We'll walk through the steps later. For now, feel the relief that sequence creates. People trust what they can predict. Boundaries that breathe are predictable in tone even when flexible in shape. Try hearing it in small phrases. I can't give this justice in 5 minutes. Let's do it at 2 tomorrow. I'm stepping out at the hour. Flag what's truly blocking. Email works better for me on this. Send me the facts you're weighing. None of these shut doors. They open doors at the right hinge. Warmth stays. Urgency is folded and put away. When you practice, notice how your respect rises in the room. Not because you are hard to reach, but because when reached, you are fully there. Value concentrates. The meeting that once soaked the afternoon begins to fit its container. People show up prepared because your edges taught them how. You become the colleague who saves time and lifts tone, the friend who makes plans feel easy, the leader who ends with energy to spare. There is a sentence that does this instantly. A soft lever you can pull to recenter any room. We'll use it soon together. The world hums like a hive that forgot how to rest. Little red badges bloom on glass. Timelines unspool and the word now is stretched like taffy until it covers everything. You hear it in pings that mistake access for importance, in feeds that sell you a mood, in performative urgency that drags your focus by the collar. Even joy gets scheduled, graded, shared. No wonder your attention comes home scuffed and thin, like a coat that has walked through brambles all day. There is mercy in naming this. Burnout is not a private failure. It is a predictable outcome. When every window is open and the street never sleeps, you are not weak for feeling tired in a world designed to harvest your gaze. The economy that trades in clicks and outrage treats your inner life as inventory. Detachment is how you reclaim the warehouse and lock the side door. Marcus would ask a simple question. What belongs to you and what does not? Pings, opinions, headlines, delays, external. Values, choices, the posture of your mind, internal. When you sort the pile, you stop trying to iron the weather. You return your effort to where it buys clarity. Control the controllable. Place the rest outside the fence without hatred. Indifference to noise is not indifference to people. It is love guarded by discernment. Your slowness is not laziness. It's craftsmanship. The craftsman lets the wood tell him its grain. He does not shove the chisel for speed. You are allowed to think in complete paragraphs, to answer after the echo fades, to choose depth over display. Most gifts improve when you stop rushing. Listening, judgment, humor, courage. They thicken when you give them a single stove to simmer on. Call this moral hygiene for attention. You wash your hands to keep out illness. You wash your mind to keep out contagion of panic and performance. That might look like moving the phone off the desk or answering messages twice a day with full presence instead of 50 times with fragments. It might be a rule that mornings belong to building and afternoons to maintenance. It might be as humble as letting silence finish its sentence before you fill it. None of this requires exile from modern life. It asks for stewardship. The sense that your minutes are on loan and deserve clean containers. You can still be responsive without being porous, still be generous without being drained. When you hold your attention with care, you teach others how to approach it. The world learns the pace at which it may knock. Tonight we will try something old and quiet to help. The inner courtyard. It's a way to step behind the palace wall of your mind, close the gate gently, and let the dust settle. We'll walk there together soon. Bring a minute, a chair, and the willingness to breathe without performing. The courtyard is waiting the way evening waits, unhurried, a square of quiet open to the sky. You step through a wooden gate and feel the catch release like a small knot loosening at the base of your neck. Stone holds the day's last warmth under your shoes. A fountain murmurs, talking to itself. There's jasmine on a trellis, not insisting. Somewhere beyond the wall the city carries on. Wheels, laughter, a distant siren smoothing out into nothing. You walk a slow lap along the perimeter, and the doors appear. They are set into the inner wall like choices made visible. The first is marked anger, the letters burnished by many visits. Beside it a lighter door, approval with a brass handle polished by hopeful hands. Next comes urgency, slightly ajar, breathing drafts of clock air. More doors wait farther down, fear, sarcasm, rescue, but tonight these three ask for your attention. You stop at the center where the fountain keeps time. Here is the move Marcus would have liked for nights like this. It fits into 3 breaths, small enough to bring anywhere, real enough to change the weather of a moment. First breath, arrive. Feel the soles of your feet, the weight of your jaw, the ribbon of air passing the notch at your throat. Let your shoulders level like water left alone. Second breath, name the closest door without opening it. Anger, approval, urgency. Give it the courtesy of recognition and notice what it promises. Third breath, choose your posture. Decide the distance you'll keep, the tempo you'll travel, and the smallest true action that honors both truth and calm. You drift nearer to anger. Heat lifts from the grain like steam from bread. It offers a story where you are all edge and no skin. You nod to it, thank it for the alarm, and keep walking. Approval rustles like an audience shifting in velvet seats. It offers applause in advance if you'll only contort. You smile at the trick and let the handle be. Urgency whispers in short syllables, each one tapping your wrist. You remember, you can visit urgencies without moving in. The door eases shut on its own when you stop feeding it with borrowed fear. The courtyard works on your nervous system the way rain works on dust. Sounds round off, breathing widens. A moth arrives to labor at the lamp, patient and a little foolish, and you forgive it as if forgiving yourself. The fountain keeps its ordinary music. You sit on the low bench and let the coolness through the fabric teach your body the temperature of enough. Your palm explores the plaster. It is cool, chalky, steady. The night does not ask you to solve it. It only asks you to belong to it for a few uncounted minutes. When you stand to leave, nothing outside has changed, but you are carried differently by the same air. The gate closes with a click that blesses the street. Keep this place in your pocket. When the noise rises, return by memory. Gate, stone, doors, breath. Use this courtyard in the conversation test. It happens in a room you know too well. The weekly status, the sideways glances, the contest for who sets the weather. Midway through, someone tilts a sentence like a blade. If you had actually paid attention last quarter, we wouldn't be here. Heads lift. The air smiles for a fight. You feel the old reflex stretch its muscles, the sprint to defend, to list proofs, to outshout the insult. You don't sprint. You put both feet on the floor and let your breath arrive first. Tempo is a choice. You take it back, one heartbeat, then another. Help me understand, you say, tone like cool water. Which part felt missed? The table pauses, because questions do that when they are real. The speaker blinks. The room's volume turns down as if someone found a knob beneath the table. A few people look at their notes, suddenly curious about facts instead of friction. He tries again, softer now, but testing. You didn't push the vendor. You nod, not in surrender, but as an invitation to be precise. Are you saying the delay was primarily vendor side? Or our planning? Another pause. He glances at the project tracker. Others follow his eyes. Composure turns into gravity. The tug of accusing slackens. Pull of clarity strengthens. You haven't argued. You've made space where truth can stand up. Data steps forward, grateful for the opening. A teammate adds, the vendor slipped 2 milestones. We chose to protect quality rather than ship broken. Someone else offers dates. You keep your posture unarmed. Elbows loose, jaw soft, gaze steady. You are present without leaning. The speaker lets out a breath he didn't know he held. Okay, he says, then our escalation plan needs teeth. Now the room is building rather than breaking. Respect accrues in increments. People lean because you did not. They volunteer information without being cornered. Your one clarifying question did more than a dozen rebuttals ever could. It told the room this is not a courtroom. It's a workshop. When you speak again, it's to summarize in a way that returns everyone to scale. Sounds like the root was external drift, compounded by our conservative release gate. Let's write the next move. The pause lands one more time, longer now, restful. You let it hold. 3 actions, you say. Owner for the vendor track. A written threshold for escalation. A public note on why we kept integrity over speed. Heads nod. The temperature drops to a workable season. No one is humiliated. No one is let off the hook. You didn't chase respect. You created a field it could orbit in. That is the test, and you passed it by refusing the invitation to sprint. The magnets aligned at distance. The orbit held. Gravity of composure, proven in front of witnesses. Next comes the moment for heat. A single sentence for rooms on fire. Here is the sentence, simple enough to memorize and sturdy enough to stand in heat. Let's slow to facts and next steps. Under pressure. Say it as if you're adjusting a lamp, not slamming a gavel. Calm, specific, non-theatrical. It borrows authority from clarity, not volume. It turns faces toward the work instead of toward you. Those 8 words pull oxygen into the room and hand it to the problem. Picture the daily stand-up gone sideways. Updates turn into side quests. Worries breed inside other worries. And a rumor about a failing build circulates like smoke. Someone fires a question across the circle that's an accusation in disguise. You feel the room tilt into drama. Your instinct wants to sprint, to out-explain. You breathe once, twice, and place the sentence where it belongs, level and quiet. Let's slow to facts and next steps. It's as if someone opened a window. A developer says, here are the failing tests and timing. Another adds, weaken hotfix behind a flag. Rollout stays Monday. A teammate volunteers the exact commit where trouble began. People stop performing and start contributing. Even the sharpest voices soften, because clarity is polite in a way shouting cannot imitate. You didn't win a contest. You reset the rules to usefulness. Leadership is the decibel of your nervous system. When yours lowers, others can hear their own thinking. When yours spikes, the whole building hums with panic. The one who regulates inside earns trust outside. Respect gathers where people feel safer around your pulse than around your title. This sentence is not a trick. It's a pulse setter. It tells the room what tempo you will allow, and it lends steadiness without theater. Marcus would have approved. He wrote at night to practice this restraint before Dawn asked for it. Every page was a rehearsal in not biting at bait. Another way of saying keep your mind, let events keep themselves. He knew that power is loudest when it doesn't need to announce itself. Let's slow to facts and next steps is the modern echo of that discipline. A small gate you walk people through, one measured breath at a time, use it once, and you rescue a meeting. Use it daily and something larger accumulates. Detachment compounds the way interest does. Steady, almost invisible, then obvious. Over months, your team learns the shape of your weather. People plan better because they know you will ask for evidence and action, not drama. They bring fewer fires because they expect to be met with water. When conflict arrives, it meets a courtyard, not a scrapyard. The sentence doesn't crown you. It centers the work. Small rooms calm. Big rooms follow. With repetition, colleagues who once tested your edges start protecting them with you. That is the quiet legacy of strategic detachment. Not a story about you, but a pattern you teach by pulse. Keep the line ready. We'll carry it forward into how respect turns into culture you can feel underfoot. There comes a season when your words grow fewer and their gravity grows stronger. Meetings that once swelled now fit inside clean borders. Messages shorten without losing warmth. People start arriving with answers because they know you will ask for evidence and next steps, not spectacle. Friends stop expecting instant replies and start trusting thoughtful ones. In relationships, the pauses thicken with meaning, apology, gratitude, and no unkind rush. You discover that most of what you thought was urgency was only echo, and you let it fade without ceremony. Across days and weeks, this gathers into a new posture. You replace the reflex to chase with the habit of standing still. Colleagues borrow your steadiness and bring it back improved. Your calendar holds its shape. Even your written words feel anchored, as if tied to a pier. People do not crowd you. They orient to you. You are not less involved. You are better placed. Power, it turns out, is not a shout, but a center of quiet weight. Return to the opening room. The table is crowded. The light is sharper than it needs to be. The agenda overflows. Now we can see why the moment turned. He did not freeze or float above it. He stepped inward first. 3 breaths, a room, a gate, and then outward with a sentence that loaned everyone a calmer pulse. He let facts speak, let the next steps write themselves, and the room relieved, reoriented. Respect did not arrive as surrender. It arrived as alignment. No heroics. Just an unclenched fist resting where it belonged. Put this where your life can use it. Before sleep, turn through the inner courtyard once, naming the doors, choosing your distance. Before you reply, breathe the 3 beats and slow to what is verifiably true. Before you decide, test for the tug of anger or applause and wait until the water clears. Small rituals repeated return you to possession of yourself. Your attention stops drifting like a kite and lands in your hands, warm and serviceable. The promise underneath all of this is simple. Detachment returns, self-respect, and self-respect radiates. It moves through rooms before you do, arranging chairs, cooling temperature, lifting the floor. People feel safer around your nervous system than around the loudest plan. They share more, listen longer, and grow taller because they are not pressed. You are still ambitious, still tender, still willing to care. You simply care with a tempo that does not bruise you. This is where legacy begins, not in a flourish, but in a habit that composes you day by day. Hold yourself, and the world will hold you differently. What remains is choice renewed each morning. Step back half a pace and let gravity gather. Write your small nightly pages. Walk the courtyard at dawn. Use the sentence when rooms catch fire. Find the tribe that is rare and patient, and belong to it by practice, until quiet authority becomes the way your life speaks. We will be here,